Hello guys, and welcome to my first episode on the Titanic. So basically, the first episode is going to consist of this. I'm going to explain what the Titanic is, and why it's famous, and why it's changed history for the good, and for the worse. So, if you want to know for that, stay tuned, and I'll be right back. So, this is going to be a multiple part series, and basically what this is, I'm going to be explaining everything about history. I love history, certain parts of history, and Titanic is my favorite thing, probably ever history related. So I figured why not start my first episode on that. So basically what the Titanic is, in 1912, it went on its first voyage across the North Atlantic Ocean from Southampton, England to New York City in America. And it was actually its first and last voyage ever. The Titanic is pretty well known. Almost everyone knows what happened to it. It sank to the bottom of the ocean, and I'll get to that in a second. The Titanic was constructed in 1909 in Belfast Island at a ship building dock, something like that. Now, the reason it sank to the bottom of the ocean, as everyone probably knows, is it hit the side of it, brushed right against an iceberg, barely even missed, and that the iceberg collision causing nails to loosen and breach open a hole, and compartments flooded. And since the compartments flooded, the weight was too heavy for the front, pulled under, then the water went over the top, and it just came down like boom. No explosion is underwater. Now there's actually a lot of really cool things about the Titanic that a lot of people don't actually know. For one, the iceberg didn't rip a hole in the Titanic at all. Iceberg actually really loosened the bolts that was holding everything together. Hey, there's a mirror. What's up? I was holding everything together, and that really loosened it, and it did cause some damage. But since the water pressure blasted it through, and it all flooded it, and so the iceberg wasn't the initial cause that ripped the hole. That's a myth. Titanic was actually called the Unsinkable because 4 of its compartments could be completely flooded and it would stay afloat. But the thing about this was 6 got immediately flooded by the iceberg collision, not 4, and that's why it went down. So they were right. 4 could have withstood it, but 6 couldn't, and 6 got hit, which is a very sad, unfortunate situation. Thing, it was actually not the lookout's fault why the Titanic did not see the iceberg fast enough. Because for one, it was a very calm night, meaning there was no waves on the ocean whatsoever, which also means you couldn't see the reflection of anything, including the iceberg. And it was a very cloudy day, or night, so the moonlight did not shine down on the ocean, which means it was darker. And so the lookout only saw the iceberg 37 seconds before it collided with the Titanic. And you are probably thinking, why didn't he just use binoculars? Well, there's actually a funny story behind this. Not funny at all, actually. There's a weird story behind this. There were binoculars on the ship, but they were locked in a box. And the person who had the key to that box actually left the crew last minute and forgot to give the key to the lookout. So he had to spot everything with his own eyes, which turned out to be the reason that the Titanic ended up at the bottom of the North Atlantic Ocean. Once the Titanic had the hull breach, it took 2 hours and 40 minutes for it to completely sink. One of the reasons the Titanic is as famous as it is because of the way it went down. One of the most famous ways in all of history. One of the reasons you probably know about the Titanic is because of James Cameron's 1997 film named, appropriately, Titanic. And it depicts the Titanic getting hit by an iceberg, and the stern goes down, the boat comes up, and this happened in real life. As it was going down, the end of it was slowly going up, and since the ship was so big, the biggest ship of its time, the end was too far up for it to be supported, and the structure completely broke in half, because the front of it couldn't support all that weight on its own, and it showed why it couldn't support it, and it broke, killing people in the fall. And once that broke, the front of the ship went down to the ocean like a torpedo, because of the way it was shaped, just like a bullet. It went down so far, 3.7 miles down to the ocean floor, and that's where it lays today. And now the back of the ship, it's on the surface, and it's half of a ship, and it's ripped in half. And it does not take long for this one to go down, probably 2 or 3 minutes. The water starts flooding in through the ripped hole, and then it turns, and then it goes straight under. You probably saw in the movie Jack and Rose were on the edge. That's how it went under. It wasn't as vertical, but it was very, very close. And actually, a really cool fact about the Titanic, if the break was actually a clean cut, the other half would have stayed afloat for a lot longer, if not permanently. Because it's been tested countless times with scientists and marine experts and ship experts, captains, whatever. If it was perfectly cut down the middle, it depends because of the rooms and everything like that. The water could have been stopped and it could have stayed afloat for a lot longer, maybe a few hours, or if not, like I just said, permanently. Which is crazy. It's awesome. That's awesome. But unfortunately, you can't have a clean cut when you rip something in half. Like say you grab a chicken finger, you rip it in half. It's not going to be a clean cut like you just cut it with a knife. It's going to be, you know, ugly, shredded, and ripped. It's basically what happened with Titanic. It just, boom, ripped right in half. It's like you just grab something and just like that. And unfortunately, it went down very fast. And the back of the ship went down on the same course of the front and landed within a mile radius of the front. And in that mile radius is a pile of wreckage, and why there's so much wreckage that isn't actually from the inside, it's the shell of the ship. Because when the back was going down, it imploded, which is an underwater explosion. And once it imploded, it just zoomed straight to the ground. And it went so fast, all of the shell ripped off on the way down. And once the bottom hit, raining down came all the wreckage that lays around it now. Alright, well, that is how the Titanic sank. And next video that I'll probably make tomorrow, maybe, I'll see maybe even today. The next video will be how everyone died and the main cause of death on the Titanic. Remember, this is episode 1 of the Titanic, and after Titanic, I'll move on to different events. Thank you guys for watching. If you want more content like this, I'm here. See you guys later, and thank you so much for tuning in.